and I was born in France, in Tourcoing, and we lived there in France for about 6 years, and then we immigrated to Canada, and my family started a bakery because we wanted to bring a bit of Paris to Canada and share our culture with our customers.
So were you always interested in bread? Is that a long family tradition, or is that?
Um, I personally was not. Of course, my dad was a baker, so I've always been very implicated in the bakery process, right? When I was a kid, going into the bakery, eating dough was a ritual, having a piece of, toast or there, something like that, and seeing my dad work. It's always been in our family. He actually started by baking bread for us, so for me and my brothers at our home when we were kids. That's what got him into baking. And then, when we immigrated, we thought, well, we might as well open a bakery in Canada while we're at it. And really, he wanted pretty much to share that tradition he had with his family with everyone around.
So you brought the idea of baking bread as sort of just the French bread, or you at one point considered other breads, or is that?
Oh, yeah, I see. So pretty much, we did consider just French bread. Because with French bread, there's a very slow fermentation process. It's extremely healthy. And in North America, it is a bit more rare to see that. And so we did want to bring that and do the 12-hour fermentation, which is our tradition, do our own leavening, very minimal ingredients. We really wanted to provide a bread that our family eats, so something healthy, and give the same to the customers. Because we don't want them eating something, with a bunch of additives, preservatives. It's just not healthy. So we did want to translate that into our bread.
So what's the average day in the bakery, in a big bakery like yours? What does the average day look like?
For myself? Or for just the bakers?
For the bakers.
I mean, an average day usually starts at 4 a.m. for the bakers. They come in, and they create the mixers, and then they let it rest. And then, they cut the dough, they make it by hand as well, and then everything goes into the oven. So it's a very long day for them, usually the baking process really ends at 12, keeping in mind that the fermentation itself actually lasts 2 days, right? It's about 18 hours for the fermentation, and the whole baking process, which we're very proud of, is that it's a very slow one. And so in total, from start to finish, it takes 3 days to make our bread.
Another question, can you talk a little bit about the benefit of it, and why that process? Are there any benefits that come from it?
Yeah.
Flavor or health or something?
For sure. So pretty much the benefit of using a slow fermentation is that the fermentation itself, first of all, with the leavening, gives a very different taste to the bread. So it's much stronger. It's very delicious. And on top of that, the slow fermentation, not a lot of people are aware of that. But when you do not do a slow fermentation, you have an acid called phytic acid that stays present in your bread. And what happens is that when you eat that bread with, your meal, it'll take the nutrients away from that meal. That's why you have a lot of people in North America that have a lot of intolerance when they eat bread. It's because of that. And with ours, it's actually broken down, that acid. And so it's just not present anymore at the end of the process, right? And I've had a lot of customers who came that were so happy because they couldn't eat bread, and then they found our bread, and they have absolutely no issue with eating it. They do not have stomach pains anymore, gas, all that you can get. So that's really the benefit of slow fermentation. It's much easier on the digestive system.
So is that all based on French recipes, or is that a secret? Is that some secret family recipes in there as well?
Definitely not a secret family recipe. It's it's not magic to make bread. It's quite simple, honestly. Anyone can do it. I mean, my dad started at home, right, with his children. It's definitely not. I mean, it's a homemade leavening. What is leavening? Water and flour that ferments, right? It's very easy to do. You can start it at home. So no, it's not a family recipe. I mean, obviously every baker has a little twist on it, of course. And my dad, having done chemistry in university, is his favorite part is the fermentation. And there's certain ways you can manipulate the fermentation, do it a bit longer, use a fresh flour, using an aged flour, which is what we do. So there's a lot of different aspects. I'm not a chemist myself, but there's a lot of different aspects which you can change the fermentation and how it reacts, really.
So what is your favorite bread or product that you have here? Is there anything that you particularly like?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, my favorite product is really, I think, the baguette. Especially in France, it's a very fond memory of mine with my mother. The end of the baguettes are usually the crunchier, and so in the car, we would break it and just both have one side of the bread, and eat that in the car. Things like that. Definitely the baguettes. We really like our crunchy bread in France. It's to make our tartine even in the morning. It's great.
And so what about the community? How do you think has been received when you came over here? You said you immigrated from France. So how did you feel that was being to see that you built a community, a strong followership that comes and enjoys your bread?
Oh, I think we built a very strong community. You know, Canadians, people in Vancouver are extremely welcoming. They were so happy to kind of see an artisanal bakery. And I think, you know, the beauty with this is that and even myself, I was really able to connect with my clients, personal relationships. You know, I have an elderly couple that come in every Monday. I know them by name. I love seeing them. It's one of the best part of my days, you know, when he greets me and you kind of chat with them. And it's really creating those relationships, and they really like us. They love our products, and I think what's most important is that personal relationship we've built with people. You know, we're not superficial, but we're just selling a product. We're really trying to build a strong relationship with our community, with people around us.
So you have a lot of regulars that come here and
Oh, absolutely, yeah. No, I have a lot of regulars. They come in on the exact same days, you know. I have a lot. Just like the gentleman, actually. He comes in every week. Yeah, definitely a lot of regulars. Lots of elderly couple that comes in for their coffee and their sandwich. You know, it's a ritual for them every Sunday morning. So it's very nice to see that because it kind of reminds me of the villages in France. You know, when you go to your local coffee shop, you know everyone. It's really a village kind of community.
it's community and it's family, right?
Exactly.
Bread is important for the family too.
Oh, it definitely, you know, and especially with me having grandparents in France still, and I see people like neighbors taking care of them, something I very much appreciate. I try my best to replicate that in my business. You know, I do let some of my customers know if you have any issues, you know, because they may not have family around, contact me. Absolutely. You know, you can come to the bakery, come and talk to me, and I'll definitely, you know, try to find a solution for you if needed.
Do you have any other interesting story or funny story you want to share about bread or the bakery?
Family story. Let me think. I mean, we're definitely not bakers by trade, me and my brother, but, you know, we did have difficult times, you know, as immigrants coming to a new country, and we were kind of thrown into it because, you know, it's when you're immigrant and you come here, you definitely start working very young. You know, at the kitchen table, putting the stickers on the bags before we had the plastic bags that are printed now. You know, going to the bakery, making the mixes ourselves when we're short-staffed because, you know, there's always some staff problems at some point, and just being very implicated in the business from a very young age. So learning very hands-on. I'm a very hands-on person. My brother as well, you know, he makes a lot of machinery, and I think it's just a habit from when we're young that our dad really taught us.
So, like, on the video on your website, dad was talking about how he was raised in our, you know, like your mom's, you know, from, like kind of gas power. Does that sort of affect how they bake, or like that affects like maybe, you know, like does that have any effect on, you know, their baking process or philosophy of the business?
I think definitely the philosophy. So my parents having moved, you know, my dad having born in Africa, my mom going to Madagascar when she was a kid, definitely had a big impact on our philosophy. We're very open to different cultures. We love bringing in different cultures. Even my mom always cooking Chinese food when we were little, Indian food. It was really great because it really instilled us that not to be closed-minded. You know, we try to include every single culture in our stores. You know, we're very open. So I definitely think that was a very positive impact on my family, is being very open-minded and loving every type of culture.
Has it in any shape or form influenced any recipes or something that you ever done or something?
No, not really. Not on that end. But it did because, you know, we do know that it did impact something, actually. We do know that, you know, people here might not like the bread we like in France. because ours is a bit more compact, a bit more crunchy, and that might not be, what people like here because simply there's a lot of different cultures. People like softer breads. So we really wanted to adapt. We had to adapt. So we still followed our principle, which is the slow fermentation. However, we did change our bread a little bit to be more soft, to appeal to people here because, after all, we don't all like the same thing, right? So.
Well, one more. I think for my words, like, what's your favorite part of baking or running this business? You sort of like talking about the community and all that. Like, what's like what? Is there any specific instance or just like how does it make you feel? Like, what's your favorite part of baking?
I don't bake myself. You do know that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Like, part of the business. What's your favorite part of that?
I mean, my favorite part of being in this business is that we're lucky enough to be doing it as a family. I mean, that has pros and cons, of course. But it is nice to be working with your brother, and seeing something grow as well, especially considering we were quite low middle class in France. So, in France, it was hard to achieve our dreams. But Canada, gave us that opportunity. And creating a business with your family is definitely a great opportunity, and it's really nice to be able to work with your brothers or your sisters and be able to grow that. I mean, in terms of bread, I don't have much because I don't bake myself, but it is more about the community, and the family aspect of it. And also meeting a lot of new people, in our office. And I think maybe one of the most interesting thing is it's mostly immigrants, our employees and ourselves. There's maybe one or two Canadians, but it's the majority immigrants. So it's very different because we all speak different languages. You'll sometimes hear the French baker speaking French. Our packers are speaking Chinese. Sometimes it's in Hindu, so Indian, Hindi. So that's a very fun aspect of it as well, I think.
Very multicultural.
It's very multicultural, yes.